out! It's Godzilla! Ah, it's terrible! It's terrible! Ah! Oh my god! My eyes! My eyes! Wah!
Oh my god. That was a weird dream. I honestly didn't think the 1998 Godzilla was that bad.
Hey everyone, well, just came back from watching Godzilla, the 2014 version, not the Roland Emmerich 1998 version. To tell you the truth, I kinda did like the 1998 version, and just hear me out. I only like the design of Godzilla. I thought that is a great design of him. I really like it. I like the idea, I like the story for the most part, but I have to admit the acting's bad, the jokes are stupid, there's a lot of stupid moments in it, but I take it as a dumb monster movie that just happens to be called Godzilla. So for this movie, I'm gonna give everyone who hasn't seen the movie yet a huge warning. This movie is a lot like Jaws and a lot like Jurassic Park. You won't see Godzilla until the 1 hour mark. The only reason I'm warning everyone this is because if you're expecting this to be like Pacific Rim, don't. Do not. Yes, there is a monster fight that is awesome, but that's for the climax. You do not see Godzilla for an hour. You see references to him, but you see everything else besides Godzilla. So yeah, he is a secondary character in his own movie, but he is the main hero of the movie. If you do not care about any of the human characters in this movie, like Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, if you do not care about the personal journey of these characters, then you will probably hate this movie. And you're gonna have a very bad time at it. And that's the first thing I thought while walking out. If people do not care about these human characters, then they are gonna think that the first hour is nothing but a bore and it's torturous. And to me, I'm happy that the acting really paid off. I thought Bryan Cranston is great. Aaron Taylor-Johnson is a bit of a blank slate. He is a bit wooden, but I kind of understand why they're going with that because he is like a Call of Duty player, Call of Duty main character. We're seeing it from his perspective, from his eyes, for these events, and so you have to put whatever you're thinking about that event into him. So I kind of like the idea, but he doesn't really say that much, he doesn't really talk that much, and all you know is that he's kind of angry at Bryan Cranston, who is playing his father. Elizabeth Olsen, I feel like she's a bit underused in this movie, but I'm really glad that she's not a damsel in distress. That's what I'm really happy about. And the chemistry between her and Aaron Taylor-Johnson is pretty good. Even though, here's the thing. If you walk into this knowing that these two are going to play Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and yes, they're brother and sister in that movie, then you're going to be feeling icky about this one scene where they were kissing each other and Aaron Taylor-Johnson is touching her ass. My friend next to me is like, they're brother and sister. It's gross. And then I got the image in my head which just ruined the mood. And it was kind of a hot scene, and Elizabeth Olsen is fine. If you do not care about the human characters for the first hour, you're gonna hate this movie. But once Godzilla finally arrives, the movie does shine, it does deliver, and it's just worth it just to see the final hour of this movie. There are some shots from the trailers that is not in the movie at all. The speech given by that army general who is played, I don't know the actor's name, but he was in Lincoln. Yeah, that was not in the movie. There was a shot of the Statue of Liberty being destroyed, and that's not in the movie either. And the teaser trailer, which I'm about to forgive because it is the teaser trailer, where Godzilla comes out of the dust and ashes, and then all you see is the silhouette, and then he's roaring. There's a couple parts from the trailer, so that's not in the movie, but I'm willing to forgive that because it wasn't really necessary. What made me so nervous about seeing this movie is that I really didn't like this director's previous movie called Monsters. I really did not like it, and I watched it 3 times because everyone told me how good it is, and they told me to go with the mindset that this guy basically made the movie by himself, all alone, on a laptop with a small budget, and I watched it 3 times and I still end up hating it. So that's why I was like, oh my god, I'm probably gonna hate Godzilla. But then again, he got a huge budget and in the end, it pays off. And to me, this is almost like watching Jurassic Park all over again. Because it's almost like the same plotline, the same time lapse. Because you're stuck with the human characters, and then you finally see the T-Rex at the 1 hour mark, and the T-Rex freaking delivers. Over here, Godzilla delivers. The scenes are shot so well, oh my god. I thought Pacific Rim did a great job, but this beats that out of the water. This movie is shot beautifully. The angles he chooses, there's no shaky cam in this, and the way it's filmed, it's shot, and oh my god, pans, the zooms, the slow build up to seeing the giant monsters, and when they finally fight each other, it was epic. This is what I'm talking about, people. This director has a visual eye, and I cannot wait to see what other movies he's gonna make, because this made my day today. One of the most beautiful movies I've seen this year. And not just that, the musical score. I never heard this guy before, but man, I did not expect the score for this movie. It is like the original Godzilla movies. It's in the same vein. Oh my god. Dun 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 dun. I did not get that from any of the trailers, but for the movie, it works. Oh my god. I was really worried about the score from hearing it from the trailers, because all you hear is this choir going, oh, yeah, there's a little bit of that. But then you have this classic 1950s, 60s, 70s kind of monster music, and it actually fits. It's trying to be horror, but at the same time action adventure, so it all fits. The shots are beautiful, the score is great, the special effects are amazing and top notch. Yeah, this movie was pretty good, I say. But it is not very good, but I have to admit, it is a good Godzilla movie. This is honestly what 1998 Godzilla should have been. They got it right. And the funny thing is, it borrows some elements from the 1998 Godzilla movie. Okay, from now on, I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this movie. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, stop this review right now, go watch the movie, and come back if you're still interested. Alright, ready? Go. Alright, Bryan Cranston dies. Pretty early too. He died in like the first 30 minutes. I did not expect this at all. Then again, I probably should have, because you've basically seen all the scenes in the trailers and the TV clips. Wow! I did not expect that. And it is done very well. And not just that, I have to give the director and the screenwriter some props here. If you kill off a big actor like Bryan Cranston in the first 30 minutes, you got some major balls, man. Major balls, and I applaud you. Bravo. Because that's what I'm talking about, you know, like Psycho or Burn After Reading. You follow this character for the most of the beginning of the movie, and then you think that he's going to be the main character, but then he just dies. And his death was sad too. Man, the way it's done, because he was saying his final words to Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then he's you know, closing his eyes a little bit and opening them again, and then everyone's like, please don't leave, come on, fight it, fight it, fight it. And then there's another scene that happens. I forgot what exactly happens, but then it cuts back to Bryan Cranston, who I thought was sleeping, but no, it turns out he was in a body bag and they zipped him up finally. I was like, they killed off Bryan Cranston. They killed off Walter White. I'm not applauding because Bryan Cranston was bad. No, like I said in the beginning of this video, he was pretty damn good. It was almost Academy Award winning because he has this amazing scene, beautiful scene. I don't know exactly what he does. I think he's this engineer or director at a nuclear power plant in Japan, and his wife is also working there, and she was leading a team of 5 people to check up what's going to happen to the power plant because of some seismic activity. Then all shit happens. The team has to leave because there's been a breach, but unfortunately they were unable to outrun it, and Bryan Cranston talking to his wife over the walkie-talkie, and he's like, come on, I'm at the door, come on, just keep running, keep running. And then she says, I'm sorry, we can't, there's been a breach, we've been exposed. And then Bryan Cranston looks at the hallway, and it's the contamination's coming towards him in gas form, and he's screaming his heart out, hoping that his wife actually makes it, but she doesn't, so he closes the door, he screams and cries, and it was tragic. That scene doesn't end like that though, no. He turns back because he hears pounding at the door, and he sees the other side scientist begging for him to open, but he's like, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Then his wife goes through and then looks at him through the window, and she's like, I understand, just take care of our son, okay? And Bryan Cranston has doesn't say anything. He's choked up. He couldn't find the words to speak to his wife, hit the final words, and then the door closes between them, and then he just stays there. Brilliant. Great scene. Oh my god. I almost had a tear in my eye. That scene was brilliant. Another thing I like about this movie is the opening. It shows old footage, and I'm not sure if a lot of them are real or authentic, or they shot it to be that way, but you also see backside of Godzilla in the ocean, and they have the nuclear bomb, and then they throw the nuclear bomb on him, and it had the great, amazing score. That opening is one of my favorite openings of the year so far. It is great. Because the nuclear power plant incident happened in 1999, so it cuts to 15 years later, and we see Bryan Cranston's son grow up to be Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then he meets up with his family. Elizabeth Olsen as his wife, lucky bastard. They do have a little romance, but then he gets a phone call about Bryan Cranston going into the quarantine zone, and then he got arrested for that. So Aaron Taylor Johnson has to go back to Japan and find Bryan Cranston, and Bryan Cranston's like, listen, I'm not entirely crazy, okay? I just want to know what the fuck happened to my wife, okay? That's all I care about. I want to know what happened to your mother. Can you just give me that? And Aaron Taylor Johnson is like, okay, I'm not going to change your mind. Let's just go. So they go to the quarantine zone where it's supposed to be all radioactive. If they breathe it in, they would die. But it turns out that it was just a hoax, that it was just made up because they see wild dogs and plant life. And Bryan Cranston's like, wait, something's wrong. So he pulls out a Geiger meter, and then he realizes that there's no radiation at all. So Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson takes off their masks, and then they go to their old house, 1999. I love this, I love this. Bryan Cranston found zip drives. I was like, oh my god, I used to have those. That was such a long time ago. Zip drives. But they get caught. They were kinda arrested, but not exactly, because apparently back at the power plant where Bryan Cranston used to work, they're doing some kind of experiment. So Ken Watanabe found something that caused the disaster at the power plant from 1999, and it turns out it's exactly the same as the one that he saw on this island where there was a huge ass hole, a crater, and that was back in 1999. So in this one, he's been experimenting on it for about 15 years and trying to figure out what is in it and trying to contain it. Because of coincidence, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson just happened to be there, and Bryan Cranston said an awesome speech again. The fossil becomes alive and the huge-ass Muto comes out. I gotta say about the design of the Muto, it really reminds me of the Cloverfield monster. Mostly because of the way its arms are shaped, but then again, it doesn't have like human-like hands. It has like praying mantis claws. It's a little bit of a mixture of the monster from The Mist plus the Cloverfield monster. And the head looks like lizard-like, but also looks like a beetle's head. I kind of like it. I kind of dug it. But at the same time, I'm like, I wanted some of the old monsters back. You know, like Rodan or Mothra or something like that. And turns out that this Muto can cause EMP blasts. Another kaiju movie where a kaiju has EMP blasts. And what's interesting about the EMP blast is that it uses its leg and it lights up orange, and when it slams it down, that's when it causes a huge ass EMP blast that goes everywhere. And it affects everything in the vicinity. So the Muto escapes. Unfortunately, Bryan Cranston was gravely injured in the process, and that leads to his death. And then Aaron Taylor Johnson was taken by Ken Watanabe because Ken Watanabe realizes that Bryan Cranston is the only guy who happens to be white, the only white guy in the entire world who found out what exactly the Muto is planning. Because Bryan Cranston learned something about the response and echolocation and the EMP blasts. Ken Watanabe did not know any of this. He spent 15 years with this actual thing, but Bryan Cranston, without that much data, without that much materials, that much knowledge, can figure that out. I found that pretty funny. But yeah, Ken Watanabe finally realizes, oh my god, it's calling something. It's probably Godzilla. And yeah, that's what I love about Ken Watanabe, because they were showing old footage of Godzilla to Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then all of a sudden Ken Watanabe is like, they called this monster Godzilla. I thought he was going to say Gojira. Probably he did. I don't know. The way he said it, it really sounded like he was saying Godzilla instead of Gojira. But everyone calls it Godzilla anyway. This movie is kind of connected to the movie, the original one from the 50s. And I kind of find that interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, so for about 50, 60 years, no one knows about Godzilla? They kept that a secret, huh? Okay, I can sort of dig that. It's probably possible to erase information of a giant freaking lizard, but I dug it, I went along with it. So it turns out that the Muto only likes radioactive things. So it only goes to radioactive power plants, eats up radioactive missiles, radioactive sewage, and all that stuff. They're trying to figure out where the Muto is going next because this Muto can fly. It can fly! I like its wings because it has these 6 legs. And at first I thought 2 of its legs becomes wings, but no. It's hiding something like a beetle, and then its wings pop out, and then it flies like a pterodactyl. That was a very interesting design. It's like an insect, but also like a lizard. So after Aaron Taylor Johnson tells everyone else what he only knows, he's like, you know what, I'll go see my wife in San Francisco, but it turns out that I'm stuck in Hawaii. So he's stuck in Hawaii, he's on this monorail, and then for some reason this kid, who I believe is kind of stupid, but at the same time I'm okay with it because he is very young. The kid's separated from his parents, and Aaron Taylor Johnson tells the parents, don't worry, I'll come back, and then drop him off for you. You know, Aaron Taylor Johnson is a very nice guy, but the problem is the way it's scripted, because you know something bad is gonna happen, because he's like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this kid, hopefully you won't mess with my flight. I'm like, oh dude, something's gonna happen to you too. So it turns out that the Muto grabbed a Russian sub, put it on an island in Hawaii, and was eating the radioactive shit. So the ground forces saw this, they engage it, and the flight team goes out there and tries to engage it, but the Muto does the EMP blast again, which shuts down everything, including the fighter jets, which falls down and explodes. At the same time, a tsunami happens. This little girl witnesses a tsunami. Everyone's like, we gotta leave! We gotta leave! Tsunami coming! The waves become huge, and there's a scene where a dog was tied up to a palm tree, but then it runs away in time, and it runs faster than every other human who already got a head start. That made me laugh. I was like, wait, is the dog gonna die? Nope! He jet out of there! He's the freaking Flash! I'm happy for the dog, bravo! But then you see the shot of the same kid again, and you're like, wait, does this movie have the balls to kill off a kid? Nope! Seriously, I wouldn't have minded so much, but the thing is, do I want kids to die in movies? No. But I wanted a kind of realistic approach to that, you know what I mean? Because her family, her father's holding her while holding the mother, and they're running away from the wave. First thing the father did, go all the way to the right, go inside some cafe with glass doors, mind you, while the wave is like 50 feet away from them, but running towards them. So they closed the door, and they got away from the wave in time, and the wave does not come crashing into glass doors. No. These glass doors are super ass strong, because you see a tiny little crack, but they hold out all the water. The family is safe, the little girl's safe, everyone else is dead. I mean, yeah, there are some survivors, they go on top of the building so quickly, and then you see one of my favorite shots of the movie. The wave hits everything, everything's blacked out, and then the camera zooms up and sees 4 army guys. They shoot up flares to assess the damage. So they're boom, 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 boom. And then once the flares go up and they come down, then you see Godzilla's leg. Just to see the scale and shape of Godzilla. And it's just his leg. That shot was beautiful to me. You don't even need to see Godzilla at that point. The fact that you actually see his leg and the perspective of the humans and how small the humans are compared to Godzilla, it is perfect. Cut back to the monorail. The monorail works again, and it turns out that the Muto is right next to the monorail. And it's a weird coincidence that Aaron Taylor Johnson just decided to go to Hawaii, and then all of a sudden the Muto happens to be in Hawaii, and the Muto happens to attack the same monorail that has Aaron Taylor Johnson. So the Muto attacks the monorail, it breaks in half, and a part of it is hanging out, and Aaron Taylor Johnson is hanging on for his dear life, and then the kid that he promised to bring back to his mother and father starts falling, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson grabs him. And you know what? That's a great hero moment right there. That scene was good. Even though I kind of didn't like the coincidence part, it was too much of a coincidence, but I'm happy with it at the end. And then it cuts cuts to this helicopter. Once the helicopter guys start engaging the Muto and starts firing upon it, then Godzilla scales pop out of nowhere, and that took the helicopter guys by surprise. So the helicopter guys didn't even look at the Muto and they crashed into it. And then the fiery remains of the helicopter crashes into the airplane, and that explodes the airplane. And then for some reason that sets off a chain reaction, which makes the other airplane next to it explode. And then, even though this part made me laugh because I'm like, oh come on, what kind of domino effect is this? I was silenced because Godzilla's foot comes into frame, stomps. Everyone in the theater was silent. And then the Muto looks back at Godzilla. He's like, what the fuck is this? And then you see Godzilla's feet. And then the camera pans up. Then you see his torso. Then you see his arms. Then you see his neck. And then you see the true glory of Godzilla himself in full frame. He's looking at the Muto extremely pissed off. And then he lets out this roar. It was epic. I know people use the word epic a lot of times, but that shot alone is epic. That's how the first appearance of Godzilla should be. And my god, the CG work on him is amazing. The thing is that after watching the Kraken from Clash of the Titans, I was wondering, oh my god, that monster looks so amazing. I wonder if there's another monster that's gonna look more amazing than this. I expected the kaiju to look more badass than the Kraken did, but honestly, I thought the Kraken was the most badass. But then, you see Godzilla. I feel like Kanye West. I'm like, oh, Kraken, you did a great job, but I have to say this, Godzilla's the winner. Godzilla is the winner. So once he roars, then you think the fight's gonna happen, and then it cuts to Aaron Taylor Johnson's kid. I was so mad. I really was. I was this close to scream in the theaters, bullshit! But what followed afterward made me happy, because the kid wakes up by Elizabeth Olsen, and then he looks at the television, and then it shows the fight between Godzilla and the Muto. And yeah, I think this would piss a lot of people off because they're like, oh come on, I want to see the fight. I don't want to see a crappy ass handheld version on the television. The way it was shown and the way Elizabeth Olsen was speaking to her son, it was a kind of funny moment, but also badass at the same time. And not just that. Most of this movie is from the perspective of a human. How a human sees it. Godzilla was fighting the Muto, and then the Muto escapes, and Godzilla goes back into the ocean. And Elizabeth Olsen is asking her son what's happening. And her son's like, oh, mommy, look! Dinosaurs! And Elizabeth Olsen looks at the television, and she's like, what the fuck? Great reaction. And you know what's funny about this? The army knows who Godzilla is, and they're like, oh shit, it's Godzilla, okay, what should we do then? And Ken Watanabe's like, oh, nature has a certain order. We should probably put Godzilla against this Muto again, instead of using atomic bombs. And the army's like, wait, what? Come on, we're Americans. We're gonna have to use bombs, okay? Bombs is the only solution. America! Nah, they're not exactly that evil. They're actually being smart about it. I mean, once they even bring up using an atomic bomb to wipe out Godzilla and wipe out the Muto, I'm like, oh, come on, you know something bad's gonna happen because of that. But it turns out there's a surprise. It turns out that there's another Muto. Because the EMP thing, the signal, when Aaron Taylor Johnson was talking to Ken Watanabe about echolocation, it turns out that the Muto wasn't responding to Godzilla, or Godzilla responding to the Muto, challenging them to a fight. No. The Muto was talking to another Muto, a much bigger Muto, a female Muto. And this one's a big-ass mama who can't fly. I like this idea. It kind of reminds... I forgot what kind of insect it is. I think it's the mosquito or something like that. That the female's the bigger one, and male is the shorter one, and the male does all the work, and the male can fly. You know, that was good. I like it. And it turns out the female one escaped from Nevada. I don't know, this scene was too comical for me, because Ken Watanabe is like, we have to go to the place where you dump all your nuclear waste. So the US Army is like, oh, we gotta get over there quickly, we gotta send troops there right now. So there's these army guys who's checking out all the gates to see, okay, nuclear waste is good here, nuclear waste is good here. Then they go to level 3, the gate 3 or something like that, and then one guy looks at it and there's bright light shining through. He's like, guys, you gotta check this out. So he opens the door, and then what does he see? A huge ass hole in the wall. I'm like, really? Really? No one noticed this? Okay, I'll take And then you see this big-ass female Muto destroying Las Vegas. And there's a funny scene where they show the casino and the people were gambling even though it shows on the television, but the volume was too low, or the people were talking too high, or the casino noises are too loud, so they didn't even pay attention to the television, even though you see the huge-ass Muto attacking that casino in full frame. And then the power went out, and then the Muto attacks that casino. That was hilarious. And then you see firefighters burst into a suite of some kind, and then the firefighters look out outside of Las Vegas, and then they realize, holy shit, everything is destroyed. Oh man, the Muto destroyed Las Vegas. I wonder if that shot of the Statue of Liberty was supposed to be in Las Vegas, because I remember last time I went to Las Vegas, there is a small statue of the Statue of Liberty. So Godzilla is traveling from Hawaii to San Francisco to confront the Mutos again, and what I love the most about this part is that it feels America to me. These giant ships, these naval ships, are traveling alongside Godzilla, and Godzilla doesn't give a shit. He really doesn't. He does not give a shit. He doesn't even try to destroy the freighters or anything. No, no, no. He did nothing. He's just swimming. So cuts to San Francisco, where the Mutos finally join up, and they're about to have sex, I believe. I'm so glad they didn't show that, but here's the thing I like about the Mutos and Godzillas. They're treated more like animals this time around. Even though there's a little, it feels like a human in suits kind of thing, especially with Godzilla, but at the same time, they're really thinking about these creatures they designed. These creatures are just animals. They just want to live. Unfortunately, they're just extremely huge and everyone wants to kill them. The Mutos just want to mate. They just want to lay eggs. They want to have a family. They don't care about the humans. They just want to live. They don't have some evil agenda or something like that. They just want to survive because that's what animals do. I don't know why Godzilla wants to fight them. Probably he's pissed off that he's not the only giant monster around. Godzilla's selfish, man. He doesn't want to let any of these giant monsters live. But during this, Elizabeth Olsen finally hears word from Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson's like, okay, no problem. I'm going to go to San Francisco, but I'm heading with the army. We're going to try to find a way to stop this thing. Elizabeth Olsen's okay, but the Aaron Taylor-Johnson did not show up in time. So Elizabeth Olsen decided to let her son go along with the hospital staff, and then they go to an emergency shelter while Elizabeth Olsen just waits for Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Once the school bus reaches the Golden Gate Bridge, Godzilla finally arrives, but I love his entrance to San Francisco. He swims to these freighters and then stops, and then he decides to swim under a freighter, but unfortunately his spikes were too big, so the freighters got in the way. For some reason, everyone on the ships is like, fire Godzilla! Fire! 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 But they miss. They don't really hit him. All the missiles they keep shooting hits the Golden Gate Bridge. The humans are causing more destruction than Godzilla so far. This reminds me of the 1998 Godzilla. Negative impact. I repeat, that's a negative impact. Negative impact. That's the Golden Gate Bridge we're talking about. So all the army guys on the Golden Gate Bridge are telling everyone, stop shooting! You're about to kill innocent people here! There's children and school buses here! And one of the children in the school bus happens to be Aaron Taylor-Johnson's child. Coincidences! I'm okay with that though. These ships fired 2 missiles that were about to hit the Golden Gate Bridge onto the school bus. And you know what happens? Godzilla blocks the shot. Godzilla is the hero, everyone! Woo! Godzilla! 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 Hoo, hoo, hoo. He cares about the frickin' children more than these frickin' humans! And what I love about this part is that Godzilla's very annoyed. He is annoyed at these people shooting him down. He's like, really? Really? One of his hands grabs onto the railings of the Golden Gate Bridge, and then he's just staring at the freighters. He's like, really? You're gonna keep shooting at me? You know you're gonna cause more damage here. You almost killed these children right behind me. So the school bus and the civilians mostly escape, but these people keep shooting at Godzilla with everything they got, which makes him fall into the Golden Gate Bridge and collapses the Golden Gate Bridge. The humans caused more destruction than Godzilla in this movie so far, which is exactly like the 1998 Godzilla. Seriously, I love the look on Godzilla's face. He's like, oh, now you done it, now you done it. You know what happened? You know what happened? You made me destroy the Golden Gate Bridge. all you guys are terrible. I'm getting out of here. Screw you guys. I'm going home. So during this time, Aaron Taylor Johnson decides to be with the train group because they're gonna unload a nuclear missile, and the plan is to send a nuclear missile down to Godzilla and the two Mutos, and hopefully the blast would kill them because of the sheer force, even though it's extremely radioactive, and that the Mutos will probably, you know, be happy about that and they'll survive through it. Yeah, it's a stupid idea. So Aaron Taylor Johnson is the bomb expert. Okay, coincidence. So he sets up the bomb, and then he reworks it, and then the train comes to a full stop. He and a group of men check out the bridge, and it turns out that the Muto is also over there. So the Muto destroys the train. Aaron Taylor Johnson jumps off the bridge and survives with barely any wounds, and then he wakes up the next morning, and then it turns out that the nuclear missile is still intact, so they took Aaron Taylor Johnson and the nuclear missile and go to another site. So they have a different plan about it. The problem is that the flying Muto, the male Muto, finds out where the nuclear missile is heading, and the nuclear missile is active. It says 1 hour and 30 minutes, and then it'll explode. So the Muto takes the nuclear missile from this freighter, and then he gives it to the female Muto as a gift. And then this part was kind of it was shot very well, but at the same time the angles make it so weird because the female Muto, using her lower arms, was putting the nuclear missile down to where her egg sac is. And then you don't see the nuclear missile. And then from the arm motion, it looks like it was trying to jack it off like this. Seriously, I was like, what the hell? That was weird. And I think that's basically it, because she laid eggs on the nuclear missile. Ew! So Godzilla finally arrives on the scene again, and then he engages the male Muto, and then Elizabeth Olsen is seeing it through her eyes, but she's running away at the same time, and then the doors close and you don't see the fight. Damn it! When I saw this part again, and then it cuts to Aaron Taylor Johnson, I was this close to scream again, fuck this shit! But I am so glad that I care about these human characters. So Aaron Taylor Johnson gets on his flight suit, and they realize that the bomb is active and it'll probably destroy all San Francisco plus other areas. So Aaron Taylor Johnson has to dismantle it, you know, defuse it and all that stuff. So they sent in a flight team. You see the awesome flight suit, and then they go fly down, and you see this awesome perspective shot of Godzilla fighting the Muto, and then they head down to ground level. Godzilla is mostly distracted by the Muto, and the Muto is distracted by the Godzilla, so no one cares about the army guys running around, which I like. So the army guys finally go to the place with the nuclear missile, but then they realize that all the egg sacs were covering it. But they took out the vital part of the nuclear missile out, but the problem is that the lock was destroyed, so it's very hard to take it out. So they're like, okay, plan B, we're gonna put this on a boat, and then hopefully it goes off shore to save the lives and people of this fair city. And you know what this reminds me of? The Dark Knight Rises. But Aaron Taylor Johnson could not leave yet. No. Because of the eggs, he decided to go all Ripley on it. He sees gasoline all over the place, so he lights every motherfucking egg on fire! So it's a huge ass explosion, and the female Muto realized this, so it goes back to the egg sac. But before this, it finally goes to Godzilla perspective of the fight. And my god, this fight, if you saw Pacific Rim and you thought the fights between the giant robots and the giant kaiju are very, very good, then this fight will please you. And yes, it is short, but I'm okay with that because it is shot beautifully, it's glorious, the little kid in me is, you know, filled with glee. Glee! The fight is incredible. Godzilla is double-teamed by the male Muto and the female Muto. The male Muto flies and keeps attacking Godzilla's head, while the female Muto does most of the attacking and pummeling him to the ground. And the thing is that they made Godzilla so well that he's actually an actual character that you care for, that you feel for. And I could not believe that. I care so much about this giant CG lizard. And I don't want him to die. I want him to live. I want him to win. And that's the magic of this movie. It knows Godzilla, does him very well. Bravo. Because you made us care for Godzilla much more than any other Godzilla movie. So Godzilla is actually losing the fight because there's two Mutos. So the two Mutos find out what happened to their egg sacs, and this is just like the scene from the 1998 Godzilla movie. Hell, a little bit of the same plot line. Because the female Muto looks at the egg sacs, all of them were destroyed, she cries, she wails, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson was trying to get out of the way, but he kind of knocked into something. But the female Muto heard this, looks at Aaron Taylor Johnson, and wants revenge. Yeah, this is why it sounds exactly like 1998 Godzilla. You know, remember when Godzilla comes out of the Madison Square Garden, looks at her dead Godzilla babies, and then looks at Matthew Broderick and wants revenge. I find it hilarious. So Aaron Taylor Johnson runs the hell out of there, and then he catches up with the rest of the army guys who put the missile on the boat. But the female Muto knows this and attacks everyone on the boat. Then she got distracted by Godzilla, and female Muto and the male Muto fight Godzilla once more. And it seems like Godzilla is losing, but he had the upper hand. When the flying Muto was about to attack Godzilla once more, Godzilla bitch slapped him with his tail, slamming him against the building, and then the male Muto is impaled. And after this, Godzilla gets crushed by the building that he swatted the male Muto on, and then it looks like he's about to fall asleep. So Aaron Taylor Johnson saw this while running, but the female Muto catches up with Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's on the boat with the missile, but once the female Muto was about to eat him, she gets stopped by Godzilla. What's up with Godzilla in this movie? He is as silent as the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Seriously, this guy is so freaking huge, yet he's a freaking ninja. He's stealthy. Alright? All these monsters make these loud booming noises. Loud booming noises. Ripples in the oceans and stuff. But no. Godzilla. Assassin kills. Seriously, Godzilla is like Assassin's Creed. Oh my god, I gotta draw that. Godzilla in an Assassin's Creed cloak. Seriously, he is freaking stealthy. Godzilla's stealthy! He comes out of nowhere and stops the female Muto. And, you know, what I'm happy about this Godzilla, his fire breath is freaking awesome. He did it twice in the movie, and it is glorious. It's weird because you see the scales on his tail light up blue. And I'm like, wait a second, are they really going with this? Then the scales on his back light up blue. And I'm like, holy shit, they're going with this. And then you see him open his big fat mouth and Godzilla belches. And then you see bright fire coming out and hurting the Mutos. When he stopped the female Muto, he was grabbing the female mutant by the mouth. And I thought he was going to do the King Kong move, where the King Kong was putting his hands on the T-Rex's mouth and then pulls it wide open. That's what I thought he was going to do. No. Godzilla has a better idea. Godzilla opens the female mutant's mouth up. And then, what does he do? Here's a breath mint. He breathes fire into the female Muto. Oh! Everyone cheered. Everyone cheered in the theater. That was amazing. That was great. Brilliant shot. Once this movie comes out, I'm gonna find that very frame and make a huge ass poster out of it. That part is glorious because he does the fire breath on the female Muto. He breathes fire into her throat. And then what happens? The female Muto's throat cuts. It melts away. So the head is dissected from its body, and not just that, Godzilla was holding the female Muto's head as a trophy and then throws it away while doing his awesome Godzilla roar. So Godzilla is the hero of this movie, everyone. Godzilla is the hero that we deserve and the one that we need. So Aaron Taylor Johnson got the boat away from everyone else and it explodes. Aaron Taylor Johnson meets up with his son and his wife, and then you see Ken Watanabe looking sad at Godzilla because right after the boat exploded, Godzilla falls down and there's sad music, like implying that he died. But no. He's just sleeping it off. And you know what's funny about this one? I remember the Japanese said that Godzilla's way too fat. And you know what I have to say? I kind of agree with them because the way he moves makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he is fat, but I'm okay that he's fat, okay? No, he's not fat. He's big boned, alright? He just didn't exercise for a while. Seriously, he got hit by an atomic bomb in 1950, alright? He hasn't fought anyone else since. So he needs to work out a bit more, okay? Then he'll be back in shape. So Godzilla wakes up. He's like, holy shit, I was so tired. Okay, time to leave and let out my awesome roar. And then Godzilla goes back into the ocean, and that's the end of the movie. And what I love about it is that there's a hero music for Godzilla. A victory music for Godzilla. It's kind of like Final Fantasy, like dun 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 dun. Except it's like dun 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 dun. But seriously though, if I wasn't interested in the human characters, I thought the first hour would have been shit. But I was happy with the human characters. I liked all of them. I must admit, I want more Godzilla in it, but I'm happy with what I got. This director knows, Gareth Edwards knows how to stage a shot, how to make sure it looks great, and then he builds up tension. And I love Jurassic Park, so this was heavily inspired by Jurassic Park and Jaws, at least. So yeah, this movie was worth it. It's great seeing it in theaters. I recommend it. But like I said, as a warning, if you do not give a damn about these human characters, you will not like this movie for the first hour. And you know what? I remember that Guillermo del Toro wanted to make a Pacific Rim Godzilla crossover if Pacific Rim made enough money and Godzilla is a big hit. Bring it on! I want Gypsy Danger and Godzilla, okay? Bring it on! The world needs more Godzilla! So yeah, everyone, that's my thoughts on Godzilla. Write down in the comments below what you think of the movie, or if you haven't seen the movie yet, are you hyped up for it? Anyway, thanks to you for watching. The next movie I will see is X-Men Days of Future Past, but I am going on a little vacation for the next week, so I won't be able to see it until the week I come back. I'm gonna put up a trailer reaction for Interstellar later on today or tomorrow, so until then, thanks for watching, people. See ya!